The goal of my research was to find a strategy or a during reading strategy to help my students better comprehend the science textbook. The students coming into sixth grade science do not know how to pull out the important stuff from their science textbook. And this was a project to help them try and figure out how to do that. Usually when my students read their textbook, they are provided a closed reading activity or a guided reading activity where they go through and they fill in the blanks. And what I've discovered with that is that the students actually pick up, they find keywords and they don't actually read the text. So with this particular activity, they have to actually go through and pull out the important stuff and record it in what's called a learning log. And basically what it involves is the students take a piece of notebook paper and they put a line down the middle of the notebook paper. On the left-hand side, they put entries of information from the actual text that they think that is important. And on the right-hand side, they reflect about it. How can they learn? How can they remember the text? They write notes maybe to the author saying, I don't really understand this, or maybe even to me when they're doing the reflection part. So it really makes them become active readers, and they really have to stop and think about the text. They just can't skim through it and try and find the important stuff.
One of the things that we want our graduate students to be able to do is try to find some strategies that would, from research and doing literature reviews and other stuff, to find something that they could actually implement in their classroom. Because the ultimate goal for our graduate students is to be able to improve their teaching learning process in their own classrooms. Where they had to find out something that didn't seem to work well in their classroom, and they had to come up with an intervention that they could use and implement in their classroom and figure out whether that helped with the teaching learning process in their classroom or not.
My hypothesis was that the students would do better on their tests. And in the end, those students who did really well with their learning logs did really well with their tests. And those students who did not bother spending time on their learning logs, they didn't do well on their tests either. So there was a correlation to doing a learning log well and doing well with their tests. I look at everything that I do in my classroom. I stop and think about whether or not what I'm doing is going to make an impact or help my students. So I really reflect on what I'm doing in my classroom, and I am not afraid to try something new in my classroom now. And it has provided me with a lot of ideas, especially a lot of the research that we have done. It has opened my eyes to things that I didn't know exist out there. And I'm not afraid to try those in my classroom.